I realized I was missing something, and that was the ability to go like hiking
Yeah.
and stuff. And so it was a little bittersweet coming to that conclusion a few months ago. And then the Timberon the property popped up because I'm always watching your Facebook and just checking out the site to see what's newly available. And the Timberon one kind of really, it was still in New Mexico. It's actually a little closer to Texas, so the drive's not as bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just couldn't pass it up.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Land Stories Live. I have the pleasure of having a gentleman with me who has not bought one property, but two. Dustin Lynch, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks.
Hey, glad to have you here. We're talking pre-chat before we were going here about all the amazing stuff that you've been helping with, and your career a little bit. So before we get to that, though, tell us about you. Where are you from?
So I'm actually from Northeast Ohio, more out in the country, not so much city life, but I actually live in Dallas, Texas now, actually.
In Dallas. My folks are in McKinney, actually. So
Okay,
North
awesome.
North Dallas. I'm a California boy, but they moved out there. My dad lost his job during college, and then they moved out to McKinney. And boy, that the traffic in Dallas, it is just as bad, if not worse than LA, in my opinion.
Yeah, it gets bad, and if it rains, they lose their minds here.
Well, Ohio to Dallas, I mean, that's a huge change. Was
Yeah,
that, did you go to college up in Ohio, or like how'd you end up in Dallas?
I came down here to Texas to take on a full-time job with my current employer actually a couple years ago. I'd been working part-time remote for them, and just they had a position open full-time. They asked me to come down, and part of that was to no longer be remote but be in person.
Well, at least you don't have to pay state income taxes now. So,
Yes, that is a really awesome perk. Downside is the property here is like through the roof right now.
mm. For the longest time, at least my folks in place in McKinney, like property values didn't change much because they were
Yeah,
like building so much. There's all this new supply coming on, but
yeah,
now it's
they
it's
were like
different.
sprawling out, and now it's like price of wood and everything with COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's so many factors of that.
it's crazy. It's what a world, man. Just the last year and everything everyone's been through. Um, of course, here we talk a lot about land. Were you someone that sounded like you grew up in a rural area? Like, were you like a kind of guy who would go on camping trips, or tell us about what it's been like for you to get out and
Yeah, so that we were a bit more rural. That camping was kind of a thing, but that's actually not why I ended up buying the property. Um, I I'm very much hands-on. I don't like to not be busy. Um, so I actually bought the property, the first set of property to build on, and to actually build a house myself from scratch, from the ground up. Because my house in Ohio, I've done a lot of renovations on, and um, so I had that base knowledge, but I actually wanted to build something from the ground up.
hmm,
Uh, and in Texas here with the property values and everything, it didn't kind of make sense to do it here, especially for something more of a hobby project. And I actually had started a YouTube channel for it and everything. But yeah, that was initially what the purpose of that first property was for.
that's fun. So kind of building. So obviously you're a handy guy.
Hmm.
You've were you the kind of person that you constant tinkering in your house and building stuff and
Yeah, exactly. There was one weekend actually I was supposed to go out of town for we call it a tabletop exercise in disaster planning, and I was supposed to drive to Chicago from Ohio to go do this over the weekend. And I was running a little bit behind, and a friend of mine who was going was like, "Oh, well, we already have a lot of people here. You probably could just participate remote." And I'm like, "Okay, well, in that case, I'm just going to tear out all my walls on my second floor and renovate my second." Like, I was getting ready to, and I was starting to plan the renovation. I just wasn't crazy and like ripped out all the walls. But that's how I ended up renovating my. Took 3 months, but I gutted the entire upstairs, the ceiling, the attic,
Wow.
reran electrical.
You got into the electric stuff.
Yeah, like we totally went all on. So new electric, new windows because the windows were from the 40s. Insulation because in the 40s they didn't care about energy efficiency.
Was it asbestos in there or?
No, there was nothing. There was nothing. So that was pretty common, even in Ohio in the 40s, because your heating oil and stuff was just so cheap. They didn't care about efficiently insulating homes.
Which it gets cold in Ohio. Like,
Yeah, but so it's still air. So air's always a great insulator, but and you have your outside of the house, and then of course our drywall nowadays is a lot thinner, it's cheaper, but back then it was thicker, more stuff in it. So that also did. I mean, right there is probably half an R value in just the drywall or the sheetrock itself. So it was, and heating was cheaper. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Go figure. Well, that's cool. So obviously, you know how to build stuff. You've never built a house from the ground up, and that was a challenge that said, "Hey, let me get some land, and I'll just kind of go from there."
Yep.
Has that something your dad did, or
No, not especially. My dad was Ohio Steel Valley, so he worked in a steel mill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, your dad had to be a handy guy, I bet. Working.
Yeah, cars usually, but yeah.
Cars. There you go. That makes sense. So, tell me a little bit, Dustin, about like where were you looking for land? Why'd you settle on New Mexico as a place?
So yeah, I was just scouring. Probably it was an on and off a thing. Probably for a few months. I always thought it would be just kind of cool to do. Not even just to build a house. That hadn't actually popped into my head. And there were a lot of similar websites and services and everything, and a lot of the property was actually in Colorado, which is really gorgeous area. What ended up intriguing me about the South New Mexico property was it was fairly close to highways, so fairly easy to get to. And while it is a dirt road, it is a very well maintained dirt road. From having grown up on just a small level up from a dirt road, I grew up on a tar and chip road, and I mean it probably was gravel just a few years before. Like you can really tell like a good dirt road is important because otherwise you're just going to have travel issues. But yeah, it's that property happens to be like half a mile down a dirt road, and then there's a paved road right there that goes to the highway, and so it was fairly easy to get to. It was also warm. It's one of the best things about moving to Texas. I do not do well in the cold. You think growing up in a snow belt I'd be fine with the cold. Not so much. I definitely prefer the heat. And so that was another kind of deciding factor over all the properties that I was seeing in Colorado.
Interesting. Yeah, well, and every area is so different too. I think in Colorado, I mean, you have the South that's a little more deserty. You have the east side of the state that's pretty deserty. The west side of the state that's more mountainy and trees, and there's certain valleys that aren't, don't have as many trees, but it's an interesting state. And New Mexico is that way too. Actually, when I started this process, I thought New Mexico is just desert.
No.
I didn't associate it, with trees and mountains. And that's been a pleasant surprise for me, learning about all these cool places in New Mexico.
Yeah, a few years ago, me and my brother did a trip out to New Mexico and to like Bandelier National Park and everything. And it really is nice to see. It really isn't just a desert like you associate, New Mexico with. It really does have some really gorgeous just areas, and traveling through them is really, really amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to know, so you bought the two properties in New Mexico, the most recent one being in Otero County, New
Yep.
Mexico. So you bought the one in Deming, which was great. It's an acre lot, and you can build two places if you had to, on two different lots. This one in Timberon in kind of southeastern New Mexico in the mountains, totally different kind of property.
Yeah. So after going out to Deming and just looking at the area and everything, it's a really amazing place. But I realized I was missing something, and that was the ability to go like hiking and stuff. And so it was a little bittersweet coming to that conclusion a few months ago. And then the Timberon the property popped up because I'm always watching your Facebook and just checking out the site to see what's newly available. And the Timberon one kind of really, it was still in New Mexico. It's actually a little closer to Texas, so the drive's not as bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just couldn't pass it up.
So if you could kind of picture your ideal property, money's not an issue. You could buy anywhere you want in the US. Where would you buy? What kind of property would you get?
I mean, the Timberon is really close. I think the only thing missing from Timberon is bigger space, and maybe I want to say maybe not a river, but maybe a creek running through it somewhere. And I think that would be really perfect. Somewhere warm, but it'll be interesting to see right there, since it's more in the valley. It's seems to have a little bit more seasonal change than Deming.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to experience, more like a light winter. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, but I mean, you also like have, I am very I'm one person not to like, I like change very much so. So I don't think if money was not an option, I would almost have to have like something like Timberon with a river and a pond or a lake, and then like I mean, since money's not an option, like not a limitation, then you're gonna have to go somewhere tropical too for the month or two in the winter to get away from the chilly weather.
Totally. Well, and I think about Texas and the freeze that happened. My parents, luckily pipes didn't burst, but it kind of gave a little bit of a wake up call, right? Like
Everyone down here was not prepared for that. We had a couple friends like lose water, their pipes froze. They ended up having to come over and shower and stuff because it was a good week or so before really everything started getting back to normal. So
the plumber's made out.
Yeah,
the plumber's made out. Bags of cash coming out of Dallas.
Yeah,
man. Well, I would love to know. Obviously, you've bought twice from us. What has it been like to do business together in these times?
It's honestly probably a little too easy, especially for me. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. But yeah, no, it was super easy, super delightful. The whole team is really wonderful to work with, and really responsive, to be very honest. like you guys might be a little too responsive. You guys are up quite late and everything. I'm like, oh, they'll see this in the morning, and then like, 10 minutes later, I have a reply. I'm like, okay, like I wasn't expecting an answer that fast. But the entire process is super easy. It's all like it's all online, which is great. It's all using. I'm a bit of a techie person, so like the software you're using, like Adobe DocuSign, like it's wonderful seeing that because like it's very professional. I know you, and that's part of the reason I went with you rather than somewhere else, is because I know that it has much more of a professional look and feel. I know that you actually have like you really want your business to succeed and you really care about what you're doing. And you can see that just by what you're using. And this isn't to say someone else might not be professional without those tools, but your email is your email at your website domain. It's really wonderful seeing that rather than someone who is using a Gmail or a Yahoo or something. That is my biggest pet peeve
Yeah.
in the entire world, is seeing a business using a Gmail or a Yahoo, but you have a website. There is nothing that prevents you. It's just a few extra dollars, really. If you really just found bare bones minimum service, it's really just a few dollars a month to have your email at your web domain. And if my thought, uh, if coming from it as a techie kind of perspective, if you don't care enough to spend a few dollars on your email, what else don't you care about? And so that's why it's really stupid pet peeve of mine, but it is my biggest pet peeve. And honestly, that's probably one of like just all the professional tools you guys use. It shows you're serious about helping people and about what you do. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, we try hard and invest a lot of money and time into
yeah,
all this stuff. We probably, I would guess it's probably close to at least, $600 a month, on
yeah,
online tools and stuff to help communicate, to let people know, hey, we care. And it's being a business owner, I've owned a few different businesses, and the customers are the lifeblood, and so we all work hard to try and do it. The thing about this business, it's not like we're an apartment complex, right?
yeah,
We could have cash flow forever. In our case, we have to keep on re-earning the customer,
yep,
we gotta get ourselves out there. And if someone pays on a monthly basis, that's not going to go forever. At some point that ends, and then that cash flow is gone and we got to do it all over again. So
yep, for sure. And it's not. It's really, I'm sure it's not even about the money portion. I mean, yeah, money comes into a factor as a business, but like you said earlier, it's that time investment of your own that is really amazing,
thank you.
and of the whole team.
Yes, yeah, the whole team is just, I'm so grateful, to get some hardworking people in the business, Christy and Summer and Alicia, and there's people behind the scenes that people never get
Yeah.
to interact with either. And still being, a family-owned business and doing what we do. I'm curious, has there ever been a time, we've made a mistake, Dustin, in the times we've been working together?
Not, I wouldn't say a mistake. The only ever thing I've seen is, to be very honest, I really can't think of a mistake, but if I really think hard, I think one time you guys had a typo on the website and I sent it to, I think it was Christy, and she had it fixed in like less than an hour. Like, and it was just something like so trivial. But she still took care of it so quickly. Like, it wasn't something that was like immediately affecting anyone, but she still made sure it was like fixed in no time flat.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. And I think it shows, hey, we do make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's someone's address, or sometimes, it's maybe we've put something on the website too quick, and omitted something or whatever. But we
Or
try.
how many times do we accidentally mash a key when we're typing something and we don't even realize we've mashed the keys wrong?
Yes, totally. But, we try our best, right? If we make a mistake, let's correct it. Let's get it out there. And I'm so glad to hear you had that experience with something small, but hey, we still worked hard to try and correct it. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, if someone asked you, Dustin, hey, Generation Family Properties, who are these guys? What do you think about them? What would you say?
So actually the first time I bought property, I think I posted, I shared a link or something on Facebook, and I did get someone ask, just send me a text message to the side and be like, yo, did you actually do that? Like, who are these people? And I'm like, they're just this really amazing team who, this is what they do. They just try to connect people with the properties, and there's all this property that no one wants, but someone else does, because, it's kind of like beauty's all in the eye of the beholder kind of thing. And, or people inherit properties all the time. And, yeah, they're like, wow, that you can actually really do buy property online. I'm like, yep, this is because I think maybe more so with Christy, but having, owning my property in Ohio, I know there's all these, I'm very much one to go to the county auditor's website before, I basically look at your website and then immediately go to that county auditor's website to see the info on the property. And so I'm like, yeah, it's definitely this is real. You can go and I can go to Luna County and that's my info.
Yeah.
There is no doubt what they are doing is amazing and it's real.
And so. I tell people too, every county is different. So some counties take forever to update stuff. Like Mojave County, Arizona is 7 months behind. Because what happens is they go and they record these documents, right? So we send in a document to say we're buying it or selling it or whatever. And then they send it to the assessor after they've recorded it. And so the assessor, in Mojave County, it must be huge stack of papers just waiting for them to get to, because they're 6 months behind on updating the website. So it's frustrating for us sometimes in that we bought it. I promise, here's the document. You can call the recorder and do it, but it may not be showing up on the website.
On the website. Yeah. Wow. That's really crazy. Yeah, no, Luna County was fairly quick. I've called Luna County, the county auditor, a couple of times, just trying to figure out, initially I was going to actually even buy more, try to get in touch with the neighboring properties and buy them. Luna County has a thing where some of the properties have been given to family members and they've never kept up on property taxes. That was a big thing apparently in the 60s, I guess. And so some of these properties have been in these people's names for decades, but they don't do or have anything, or they don't realize they still own them, or they thought whatever the case may be. And so like I said, it was about this time last year I bought the first property. So unfortunately by that time they had stopped their foreclosure auctions. But Luna County is really amazing. And I've called Otero a few times for electric and water information, and they're spectacular too. So far New Mexico is definitely pretty impressive with calling the county officials.
I would say some counties are better than others. We were looking at a couple of counties in New Mexico, and they don't even have a mapping system that you can go and look up a property. And so we're selective about what counties we do there, because some are better than others. Some are faster than others. Some have better mapping systems than others. And so for us, we're selecting because it has everything that we want to be able to find stuff.
You need that support, whether it's as the business, or, as the property owner, even in the end.
Yeah.
Like if I can't tell like my property taxes, or have an easy way to pay my property taxes if I'm out of state, or getting a hold of code officials so I can build a house, so I can move there, like that makes a difference.
So what do you think, Dustin, what do you want to do eventually? Do you want to build on one or both of these properties, or what do you
So
want
I
to do?
think, like I said, I have a YouTube channel that does it. I've recently gotten into streaming. So what I think I'm going to do is build in a tarot, and we're going to stream and put that on the YouTube and channel and everything. And I think what we're going to end up doing is we're probably going to do it's like a 24-hour stream. So I've done a 12-hour stream, which
Oh
was
my gosh.
gets rough. Yeah, the 24 hour is going to be really rough. But I think during the 24-hour stream, probably when we hit a couple hundred followers on Twitch, and I use we quite a bit. I don't. People are probably like, "What we?" Because it's a team effort.
Mm.
That's my community. Um, and and so I think what we're going to do is do like a 24-hour stream, do like a subathon, and I actually think we'll probably just raffle off one or both of the parcels in Deming. Actually, is
That's
what I
fun.
think I'm going to end up doing. We're still trying to figure out details, but yeah.
Well, if there's a way I can support you, send us and send Christy. Christy actually is the one that usually sends out emails, to people
Yeah,
on our list. So just let us know. We'd love to support you and get the word
yeah,
out there. So
sweet.
awesome. Well, any other closing thoughts, Dustin? I don't want to take up any more of your valuable time.
No, that like I said earlier, the both processes. First time I did buy full outright, and this time we're doing the finance option. Both have been super easy. It's been a really awesome experience, and yes, I can't recommend you guys highly enough.
Thank
I'm
you.
pretty sure some of my Facebook friends are. I don't post a lot, but probably the majority of the posts are like sharing stuff from your guys' page. So I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure my Facebook friends are a little tired of me posting. But yeah, no, it's been super easy, and just really appreciate the just everything.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being a great client, and we're glad to have you with. And if there's anything I can ever do, Dustin, let me know.
Will do.
All right,
Thanks so much.
everybody. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a good one. Bye bye.